Welcome back, everybody. It is Out of the Fog, and like I done told you before the break, it's all about creative courage, and we're going to be talking to the man who inspired the movement. No pressure. Elling, what are you at?
How are you?
How are you?
I'm good.
I could list accolades all day. An artist, a designer, a media maker, owner of one of our past local almanacs for what's cool and hip in our fair city of legends. And then on he goes into the RPM. Tell us what that is.
The RPM Challenge is a creative challenge to anybody on the planet to record music in the month of February. And it's free, it's open to everybody, all levels of experience, any genre, and it's a lot of fun. And lots of people do it. So why don't you do it?
Why don't you do it? Just do it. Is it done yet? Get at it.
Yeah, get at it.
I'm going to ask you, this year alone, because we're a few days in, how many people have signed up? 50, 80, 100?
This year...
You're like, oh, Donnie, you fool.
Last I checked, it was hovering around 1,200. So 1,200 some.
That's amazing. And we're from, like, around the bay, like downtown, like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, no, Newfoundland is actually really overrepresented.
Is that right?
Yeah, Newfoundland it's very popular. Of all the cities in the world, like if you break it down by city,
right.
St. John's is actually the number one out of all the cities in
so
participation.
Cool.
Yeah.
Considering that this whole phenomenon started not here, that speaks to what?
I'm not gonna fluff myself up here, but RPM. So it's international, and there are lots of people. I mean, every single continent is represented except for Antarctica at this point. We're
what's wrong with them?
Working on trying to reach someone on a base somewhere.
Seriously, we need to get there.
Yeah,
plant our flag.
Yeah. I know there's a YouTuber, I think, that I could probably reach
There'd be some
out to.
interesting music to come out of there if they only knew that they could do this thing.
Exactly.
We'll figure that out after this hang today. We're going to get on Antarctica. That's what we're going to do.
Penguin sounds.
I know. Wow, I know. What a concept, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, when it comes to the RPM, you authentically lived it, and you have done a couple yourself, am I right?
That's true. Yeah.
And they're diverse, the ways that you do it and the sounds that you bring.
That's one way to put it. Yeah, for sure. Ranging in quality, levels of quality.
Of course. Yeah.
And that's actually like one of the things that I've learned from doing it over the years is that like if you set out too high, sometimes you're not going to meet your expectations, and it's going to be too hard and not fun. But if you set very low, set it super low, just say, I'm going to make a bad record, or I'm going to make a bad track or something. It's actually really liberating.
Well, there's nowhere to go but up.
Yeah.
And that sounds amazing.
Well, I mean, you'll have so much fun. Yeah, people do this. There's a band called This Is Terrible from Newfoundland.
Stop this.
And they do it every year. And
This Is Terrible is their name?
Yeah.
I love that.
And they inevitably have so much fun making it that it translates into the music, and it actually is enjoyable to listen to.
That's awesome.
So they fail every year.
Well, they say fail fast.
Yeah.
So they're hitting that over the head, because 28 days is like that.
That's it.
It's a blink. I can tell you, I'm not just being like, oh, that seems like a fun thing. I mean, I've done 3. Different people every time. My good friend Steve Penny, one year, our project was Mount Scio. We recorded it in the studio up in the mountains of Mount Scio, right up in the woods. And then another year, did it again with Kellyanne Evans, Octo Thread, and Justin Murdzoy. And then I've done it with my buddy Rich under the name Eras, and we just started our first one in 2013. We recorded that one in 28 days, literally, as you say, as you wish. And then we started another album that we took 4 years to do. And now we just signed up to do the 3rd. And so I can only say thank you, because life without music, because we're all busy, and whether you have musical talent or you've been involved in it or been away from it or what have you, life flies. And sometimes you forget that something that brings you such happiness is missing until you as you have coined, take the creative courage to put yourself back in that hot seat, and man, does it ever bring you back to life. Like, I'm having the best couple of days I've had in months because I'm making music, and there's no goal, there's no, like, you know, unrealistic, as you say, but like, man, does it ever bring you such happiness. You must have heard so many things from so many people about the impact that making an album has had on them. Am I right?
Oh man, yeah, so many times. But I've got to say, all of your music is like so great. I love.
Oh my God, thanks so
hearing it.
much, and likewise to
Like,
you, because it's also different and interesting. You know.
Well, yeah, I mean, your spirit translates into it, and it's really awesome.
Well, I love to hear it.
hearing
Thank you so much. Yeah, and Rich is the most amazing person to make music with. We're very different. We're like the yin and yang.
Yeah.
Very different types of people, but we come together to make that album.
Yeah.
And make music, and it just works. And let's not forget the number of people who have started with an RPM album that have gone on to legitimize their careers as musicians and win awards and travel the world. And if asked, so many of them say the RPM Challenge gave them their start. How does that make you feel?
It's, well, yeah, a lot of people, it's their first kind of step into recording their own music. A lot of people make music or like practice their instruments or like write songs or stuff, but then they don't actually like go to the lengths to you know, put in the work and time that it requires to do the recordings. And once they have that though, then it's like, wow, they can show it to people, and people can start hearing about it and like realizing how special they are, and you know how what their music is like. Yeah, some acts. Gosh, there's so many. Steve Maloney.
Yes, exactly. Steve Maloney, the voice of an angel. Just because he put his hand to an RPM challenge and unlocked all this amazingness. Like, I love it.
The Swinging Bells, they weren't an RPM project, but the folks, many of the folks involved they started as a group called the Dilettantes.
I know all about the Dilettantes, which is the opposite of a debutante. Right? Yeah, a dilettante is someone who's from meager means, and a debutante is someone who's from like high society.
There they are.
And now the Swinging Bells. I know. Look at them. With, like, it's incredible.
Winning Junos and stuff.
I know. No big deal.
But that's not the point, right? Like it's about reconnecting with that joy of making music, and that's, I think, why Newfoundland really responds well to it, because you know, we love just making music. We just love having fun, and we love making music.
It's true.
And it's just for a laugh, but whatever.
I know exactly what odds about it.
What
Get into it,
odds?
but now listen. You know, has the RPM, in terms of the number of albums that get made, is it all up on the website? Like, how does this work? How can we access all of the music that's been made over the years by all these people?
Well, I mean, that's quite an undertaking. I think it translates. I think we had an archive that ended up being about 500 gigabytes, or about close to close to half a terabyte. If I'm doing that correctly. Anyway.
A gazillabyte, I think. That's the technical term.
Yeah. Really big. Yeah, no, there's so much out there. But we don't own it, you know, like, and we don't want to pretend that we own it.
Right.
It belongs to the people, and they put it on, you know, often put it on Bandcamp or SoundCloud, whatever.
Right.
But the music that we're collecting this year, we encourage people to do that, and we end up at the end of the year with a huge list that you can sift through and jump to their pages. And we have a listening party at the end too, like on March 5th. It'll be online this year,
sure,
of course, but we'll have like multiple listening streams. I mean, hopefully last year we got 700 submissions.
Oh wow!
From around the world, and 115 from Newfoundland.
Right, no big deal. Just making that music happen. Listen, we're in our final moment.
Yeah.
It's crazy how time flies, but I want you to let everybody know out there how they can get involved, listen, or upload, or be a part of, if not this year, next year. Tell us.
Well, they can go to rpmchallenge.com, and that'll put them on that train. That's all they need to go to.
I want to thank you so much in a million ways, and you always roll your eyes at me, but like, creative courage has changed my life as a reference term. I bring it up at least once a day, literally, if not many more times.
Wow.
And I think it's such an important idea for all of us to wrap our heads and our hearts around, because you can create and you can do whatever you dare greatly to do. So thank you so much for the RPM and all that Unpossible NL does. Guys, it's Ellington, and we want you to make music hit up the RPM. This is Out of the Fog, and we'll be right back. Woo, woo, do that.
If you have a comment about this program,